Alrighty, Doc here from North America. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Let's see, let's get over to, let's check out the chat line. The news was kind of mixed. The world is just kind of stumbling along. They just keep on plowing more capital into it. And so that is pretty much the whole game at this point. I mean, it's not much more than that. Things are overpriced, of course. We know that. That's not much of a challenge to understand. I'd have to say, if you're looking at anything that has relatively norm values, it's the currency market. Out of everything, it is definitely the currency market. I don't think the dollar is like overvalued or undervalued. I think it's just supply and demand. I know there's some out there. It's like, oh, it's going to be super inflation and the world's going to come to an end, and you get that over and over and over again. But it doesn't really have the validity, solely because there's nobody to take the position. You would have to put five. Look how hard it was to put the European Union together. The Swiss francs and or I guess not the Swiss franc, the French franc, and the Italian lira, and the Greek. I forget what the Greek one was. It was a neat name. And then the Deutschmark, and it took an enormous effort to put these currencies together, and you can see how poorly it has worked out. It hasn't been the best of alternatives as much as we in the United States in the currency markets were hoping for. We really did want a competing product that would take the pressure off of our currency. In other words, you don't understand that it's a love-hate relationship to be the world reserve. Politicians do foolish things. They spend money they don't have. Things like that occur, and so that's what's going on right now with Mr. Biden and the Democrats. The socialists think that this is a nirvana or something, and obviously it is not. It's just very poor economic policy. That's all it is. I mean, it's nothing more than that. And so if you couldn't get the European Union to function right, I don't know what combination would at this point in time. I don't see it. So that's why I'm not a bear or a bull on the dollar. I just think it gets pulled back and forth through demand and so forth. This morning, the Russian Federation came out and said, they're reducing their sovereign fund and dollar-denominated products. How many times have we heard that one before? You know what? People want to make money before they do ideology. The Chinese said that over and over and over again for years. And what did we find them doing? Buying American products, in other words, like bonds and stocks and so forth, through Belgium instead. So they didn't go directly to the United States. They went sideways and went over to Europe and bought all those things. At one point, Belgium held more. Remember we had a whole webinars series about it. Belgium was holding more U.S. bonds than their GDP. People were like, how could they do that? Then finally it became very clear. We all assumed it was China, and sure enough, China was caught. And now they don't say those foolish things anymore. So, this is the way it goes. All right. Hey there, 33. How you doing? So that's my shtick of the day. Let's take a look at the products themselves and see what they're doing. As you can see here, the dollar is trying to lift up through the, there you go, through the ETF. They're giving it a push on the upside. We see today we usually start off with the Swiss franc. So, not Swiss franc, yeah, Swiss, that's the saltine, that's right. And so there it is right there. You can see it is, and we need to switch this over. Where do we get this switched over to? Let's just move that up a little bit more so I can switch that over. There it is. There we go. And you can see there the product is moving up just the same. Jumping back into that buy from the daily sell. It was right here. I don't know where the line got to. It does that. It disappears. If I don't save it when I do this webinar, it seems to disappear. Let's see, right there. There it is. And so it went into the sell there, but it was a very tight market. We've talked about this before. You know, it's not exactly the most exciting market. Matter of fact, it's playing inside these channels we've been watching for a few months now. And if we scrunch it up even more, you're going to see it goes all the way back to when it started into the weekly sell back in, I guess, late April? Yeah, April 8th, early April. So, you know, it's playing with these lines, and we drew these lines basically from, I guess, months back, you know, one of the lows or something like that, one of the original lows. I think that's what it was. It was this area here where, you know, you could see it got through it, then failed, and then got through it and climbed. And then it's how we defined it. And I think it, even when we look further back, let's see, which mouse are we doing this on? Okay, there we are. Let's try this. And then when we go back further, you can see the same situation where, you know, this was the number, we watched that 90s back in December and last year. You saw how it bounced off of it a few times, so we knew that this was an important area there. So, get it off your chest, mate. Yes, indeed. It's not as much getting. That's why I do the webinars. I get it off my chest. You know, these are, and you know, it's really strange. FR33 is that I hear from all the old guys. Now, remember, I am in my 60s. And I was a kid on the trading floors compared to them. Okay, so I was in my early 20s, and so all the old guys that were in their 40s and their 50s and so forth are now in their 80s and 90s, and I get these emails constantly from former members and ex-chairmans and things like that. You know, just hearing the stories, they're just shaking their heads. They don't understand. You know, they're clipping their bond coupons, and at the same time they're sending me, all these stories, and they're going like, I don't understand it. How can they do this? Why is the market up this high? Or, when's the inflation coming? Or, all these strange frustrations that I keep on telling them. Quantitative easing, 2008. I've told them that since like 2008, and they would say now that somewhere around 2009, 2010, they said, you saw it first. You saw it first. They tell me these things. But I get it. I get 2, 3, 4 emails a day like that, from old traders, that just shaking their heads at the whole action. I trade using weekly and even monthly time frames. In your opinion, is it realistic to trade Forex the same way? Now that's a good question. We do it around here on dailies and weeklies. So let's take a look at this. That's why we do the webinars. We explore ideas. We try to, and the younger or the more nouveau the trader, the better. Solely because the questions could be very enlightening. In other words, and also very hip, I guess you could say. In other words, up to date with the mindset of a younger person trying to make sense out of the marketplace. So this is always, these are, like I've always said, and I say it to you, I think it's said to you yesterday, there are no stupid or dumb questions in trading. All there are is a short answer or a long answer. That's it. In other words, it's important to explore ideas like that. I learn from it. Trust me, I do. Now, in this case, it's going to just reaffirm what I've already know, and that is trading with the weekly signal here. You can see that there. It goes into a weekly signal on the Swiss, and we're in a daily signal already. Let's just move it back a little bit, like so. We're in a daily signal from here. And so what happens is, let's see if we can move this down. There we are. And so what happens is that we know that there's weakness coming. It confirms it. The weekly is underneath the number here for the last couple of days. You get short, and it becomes a winner trade. It's a very successful trade. And when you get the buy signals, you don't take the buys, you only take the sells. And so I've found on a shorter term, day-to-day basis, and a weekly, that it's to link the underlining product. Remember, I'm an options trader first, and then I'm a hard delta trader or the underlining product trader second. So I always look at this as the underlining product, or the spot, or if it's the futures contract or the stock. And I always utilize both the daily and the weekly. Now, when you're using options, you have more, less risk and more opportunity because you won't get stopped out. When you're just using the underlying product, be it the spot, the future, the stock, the bond, whatever, you can get stopped out at times if you don't money manage the amount of equity you're using for a particular position. Does all that make sense to you right now? I hope it does. So I'm a big fan of this. I used to, years ago, decades ago, I would pay attention to the monthly to see if I could get some insight. And it does have insight. There's no doubt about it. And if you're trading smartly, weekly and monthly can be very, just as positive as looking at the daily and the, which is the daily signal right here, and the weekly signal right here. And then we just leave a daily chart up, and we hide the weekly chart because there's no reason to look at it, because we have the daily chart up top here, so it just leaves three, spots on the chart. Now I hope that answers your question, and we can look at other examples. You can see we're still in a weekly sell since the 93-ish area, and you can see we've traded down to the 89-ish, the high 89-ish area right there. You can see it's the low is 89.60 right there. So, it's a positive way of following the markets. It has using my mathematics, we have about an 8.5 out of 10 accuracy rate, which is pretty good. And when you're using the with the zero sum factor of using binaries and options, it makes it even a more higher win percentage rate. All right, now let's jump over to the next product using it as an example again, and that is there's the euro. And the euro has been in a weekly buy since right here in the, where's it in the, we'll come in a second, 119 area, okay? So the 119, and then you can see, we're at a daily buy right here ahead of the schedule, and obviously you can get long in there, and you can see the success of it. You can see the success of it with this move. Can you see that? Yeah, right there, with that move right there. And you can see we go into a sell here. You don't take the short. Instead, you just take some profits out of it. And then it gets long again, and it's another smaller success victory, from, say, the 121 area, climbs all the way up to the 121.50 area. So that's pretty good, And then you can see when following it, it's still in a weekly buy. And every time it goes into a daily buy, like say right here, you have some winner chicken dinners, and a buy here, you get a winner chicken dinner, and a buy here is your first loss, right there. There's your first loss out of all those trades. You get one loss, and then and now, let's see where we're at here. Oh, I see what happened. So then what happens? We remove that. We put the sell in. Where's that sell? It's right. Put that in there in the right spot, and then there's your sell. Let's see, is that right? Yep, that's right. And this, I guess what happens is the volatility kicks out right here. You get a red and a green, so you can't go long at the close of that. You've got to wait for it to be above into the night. It kind of makes it a challenge, and so it kind of makes it a loss basically in the end result. And then you're back into a buy again, and see this here, same situation. You get a volatility signal of a red and a green, and it's doing the same exact thing over again. We're getting, we get the move from it here, and if you put your stops in correctly, you have a very small loss situation. And then you can see here we are now flirting today with the daily. Let's see, so that would go down. This will stay up. And now we're flirting with the daily sell again. And at the same time, our weekly is strong. So we know now there's back-to-back losses, which is a rarity in its own right. Let's put that up there. And so, now what's the malfunction there? Okay, there we are. There we go. Now why won't that, there we go. Let's try that. Oh, I see which one, going into the wrong one, that's why. There we are. And so right there is the buy, and it's another failure. And we're in a weekly buy. So you know that more than likely it's going to, unless it stays in the daily sell and starts to drive this white line down, which is the weekly, you're not going to really see much selling pressure on the product. Now that's a good example, and 2 back-to-back losses at the same time. Fascinating. And then you know that some strength. If we get strength, it could be a move on the upside there very well. And then we do the same thing looking at it in the cable. Cable goes into the weekly buy here. Takes a couple days for it to get into a daily buy. It's a fair little win. Gives you a sell signal here to take a profit if you haven't taken your profit already. And then the next buy is right here. And it makes all kinds of money for you right there, depending on how well you trade. It's telling you that the strength is up. There's instant gratification there. If you try to hold on for a day or two, it's still okay. And then, again, another signal to take a profit from it. And but as far as we're concerned, you always take a profit when you make money. If you don't sell something when you bought it, when it's making money, the next time you're selling it is when you're losing money. So I'm always very fast to say take half a profit, put a stop in. If you're using options, then you don't have anywhere near the risk factor. And if you're trading on that shorter term of basis, if you're following now we have middle-aged who likes to trade our system. He loves using the weekly, and I don't know what he does with the dailies, but probably use them as re-entries or something. But he seems to carry long positions, 3, 4, 5, 6 months at a time in position. You can see here, gives you the buy signal, and barely, you have a profit, but it's not a really successful one. And then it finally breaks down here, and we're still in the weekly, so we're assuming that the next buy will be another good buy. And and that's the way the thing rolls. So I hope I've answered your question there about weeklies versus dailies, weeklies versus monthlies. Like I said, I've looked at the monthlies, and it all comes down to your vehicles. Are you using binaries? Are you using options? Are you using the underlying product? And what is your money management technique? And so that's pretty much the whole answer to that situation. All right, I hope I've answered it, and what we'll do is we'll just kind of magically march along. And there's the Turkish lira. You can see it went into the sell here yesterday. The red line disappeared on us. And now we're flirting with the daily buy again as we speak. And right there. And we'll make that red. But we knew not to take the short. All you do is take some profits. So in other words, if you're long from here, you didn't sell out in here, or there, you sold out towards the close, and maybe today you'll be entering it again, looking to take out those dots right up there that we've been watching. And so that's the name of the game, and at the same time it's not the frustration as much, is getting the, I guess it's being able to communicate about the craziness that we see in modern markets. And modern markets, since the quantitative easing era that started 13 years ago, back in 2008, is really, really, upside down in so many different ways. Price discovery has been really hurt. Fundamental analysis has been literally almost removed from the equation of understanding over and undervalued products. It's bureaucrats running the financial world markets at the moment. They're the buyers of last resort. We've lost the funds and the fundamental nature of the marketplace altogether. Ever since the banking crisis that bankrupt some of the most major companies in the world, it's made it a real disaster. I don't think there's any other way to describe it. And so we don't hear that every day. Matter of fact, this morning it was very fascinating. We did a webinar on this, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago. It was when someone had released private information from Panama, where those banks are, and they found out that Mr. Putin is the richest man in the world. And and he has enormous amounts of assets, like $300 billion or something like that. And you never really hear it talked about. Well, this morning on one of the channels I do trust, they had an analyst in, and they were talking about it was a newsletter writer and trader, I guess it was, analyst combination, and he was talking about the Russian Federation, about how they're dropping, supposedly they're going to drop buying sovereign, their sovereign fund is going to drop buying American denominated investments, which, seems like a absurdity to begin with, because you invest to make money. You don't invest for anything more than that. Why do you think all these companies who talk about, child slavery and social issues are investing heavily in China at the same time, who have slavery and domestic issues? So in other words, they invest because they think there's money to be made there. As much as we don't think there is, or at least I don't think there is, they do think there is. And they have all these social issues. They moved to Major League Baseball, All-Star game away from Georgia because they don't like the way the legislature passes good laws. I mean, it's good laws that they passed, some of the best laws in the country, better than New York State. But somehow or another, they're willing to do business in New York State, but all of a sudden they want to break away from Georgia. And so at the same time, they're heavily invested in China, where there's child slavery and women's slavery, and there's concentration camps for a certain ethnic group, and but somehow or another that's okay. But here in the States, just because a legislature changes laws for the better, not the worse, for the better, make it easier than New York State or Illinois or California to vote, all of a sudden they don't like the laws the way they were changed. They're anti-Georgia. So it's the perfect example of money going where they think they can make money. Well, for me to believe that the sovereign fund in Russian Federation is going to walk away from the best investments in the world, I don't believe it. What they'll do is they'll buy it through Zimbabwe. They'll go somewhere else, plow the money into some small funds in Germany and in England, and they'll be third in corporations, so that you can't tell it's the Russian Federation's sovereign fund. And they'll be invested in America either way. They just won't do it directly. And that's, that's just the nature of investments. You want to make money. That's why you're here. We're not here to trade. We're here to make money. You got to trade to make the money. That's the only difference. Be it buying it today and selling it 3 years from now, or buying it today and selling it 10 minutes later, or 3 minutes later, or 3 hours later. And so that's pretty much the whole universe here. All right, this could be the title of it. Yesterday I was so bad I didn't put my title up until like 3 hours later. I think today we're going to put that title up a lot sooner. Let's put it that way. I felt really bad about that. So anyway, that's where we are when it comes to paying attention to that. And at the same time, this analyst was making it very clear and saying, Putin, he didn't make those, bring in that $300 billion by doing foolish things. He did it by doing smart things. And so, the richest man in the world is Vladimir Putin, and but you won't get the media to talk about it. The media in the United States won't talk about anything but hate Trump or something like that. That's pretty much what it comes down to. They won't talk about financial markets. They don't talk about quantitative easing. They don't talk about it was supposed to end 2 years later or a year later. It's 13 years later. They don't walk around mentioning any of that. They don't talk about buyers of last resort. They don't talk about the fundamentals being close to being almost non-existent anymore. They let the people talk fundamentals like as if they mean something. And all it really is it's a central bank across the planet, the Federal Reserve and all the other central banks, buying assets because Lloyd's of London is bankrupt and gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's just a name owned by the Exchequer. Merrill Lynch is gone. It basically went bankrupt and was forced into a marriage with Bank of America. Bear Stearns is gone. It was forced into a marriage and given up all its properties to J.P. Morgan. I can keep on going on. Santander, HSBC, Bank of Scotland, I just Deutsche Bank. I could keep on going. There's so many of them that have disappeared and have gone out of business, and they're still in name, functioning like as if they're real. Because the exchequers or the central banks or the Federal Reserve are all propping these things up, trying to pretend that they still exist. Citibank here in the United States, trading not much further than from the bankruptcy price it fell to when it went under, and the central bank here in the United States, the Federal Reserve, picked up its stock and perked it up, but it still hasn't changed any. Exactly, and that's what we do here. And so there are no dumb questions. There are no stupid questions when it comes to money and finance. There are only questions. There's a short answer to them or a longer answer, and you just happen to walk into the longer answer of it. It's so obvious that these things are going on, and you're not going to hear it many places at all. You're going to hear it here at Dukascopy, because I talk it every day, and I get pounded by it from the old heads asking me, what does this mean? You know what it's like to talk to an 89-year-old or an 85-year-old or a 92-year-old who's been a chairman of an exchange, who was on top of the world, in cutting edge of things and made success out of their careers, and now they're just clipping their coupons and just collecting their money, from all the investments, and they're like, I don't understand. How can it go up like this? What's it doing? I hear that all the time. Every day. I get it at 3 in the morning. I get it at 5 in the morning here. I hear it all the time. And they can never tune into this webinar. I can't. I try to screen share in to their computer so they can hear me talk. And, I go over to their house once in a while or talk on the phone or something like that. But let's see. I made 44% during the month of October. What was my secret to success? I don't know. Being long or short, I guess. Let's see, October. Let's go take a look at a chart. What product was it in? We can basically tell when we look at the product of it. Well, here's October, and you can see here's the Turkish lira rising. Let's see what the euro is doing at the same time in October. October. Well, actually, let's see right there. Oh, not that one either. There we go. In October, the euro was rising, then it was falling, and it was rising, so it could have been either one on that. What product was it? And then see, oh, hey, Alan, how you doing? Doc, the AUD dollar being held in tight range by options in the ranges. Buy options in this, is this correct? Let's see, buy options. Well, I guess it depends on what tool you're using. Let's see, against the news. Oh, well, that's good. That's a good way of making money. I would say that let's take a look at the dollar Aussie to start off with. And it all comes down to what you're using. We went into a weekly buy here. Let's make that a solid line. There we are. Change the color of it too, right there. We use a light color green. So I guess if, when we go into a weekly buy and a daily buy, especially like right here, you could have bought options and gotten long and, made money. I mean, you can see here it went from, where'd that close at? Closed at 77.46, and over a couple day period, over 1 day period, it ran to 78.15. What does it close? 77.46. So, it was a good move right there. Right now, what would be the best play? You can see here, it went into a weekly sell. Let's check it on the fact check spreadsheet, too. I think it's in a weekly sell for a couple weeks, right? No, 1 week. So it's just, no, that's not it. Yeah, 1 week, right there. We're going to highlight it. So we're in the weekly sell 1 week, and we're in a daily sell for 2 days. So it didn't make it there, it made it there. So let's put that line in. Now in this case here, you can see does it make money and then it falls and makes money again? I guess the daily sell was right there on the 27th. So on the close of the 20th, going into the, we're in the weekly sell, so you could have been short off of that right there. You can see the next day was a nice drop, so there would have been an instant win there. It all depends on what you're doing. So right at the moment, we're going into another daily sell here. So yeah, you could go with the puts. We're in a weekly sell, and as long as it stays in the daily sell today, you want to be short going into tomorrow. How's that, Alan? Does that make sense to you? It is a tight range though, very tight. So you want to be whatever vehicle you're using, be it the binary, the options, or the spot itself. You just want to keep good money management on it. I hope that helps out. So yes, puts. See, trading company shares against the news. That makes total sense to me. I mean, what was it this morning? AMC. Well, I guess AMC wouldn't work that well. The news was, the price was different than the news, because once the news came out, they took the stock down from the 70s down into the 50s. So I guess look. You made 44%. Keep on doing what you're doing, and use good money management. You're trading the spot. Yeah, so you have clear sailing. We're in a daily sell, going into a daily sell at the moment. Wait a minute. What does that say on there? It is it's in the daily buy, so it's perfect. So if it closes in here, you want to jump a little ahead. Again, you're not going to be able to see it. So let's take a look at J4X and see if J4X can help you. Let's take a look at that, because you're not going to be seeing my math. You'll see it during the webinar each day, but you're not going to be seeing it at the end unless you're, I'm not going to say how you're seeing, how you can see it, but you know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to try to push my product on you. Let's see. You can see here on the J4X it does a pretty good job following the system that we're watching. You can see here it's trying to break down. If you use the fast and slow stochastic, it's a good chance that you'll be able to utilize that. See what I'm saying? So that's pretty much the name of the game there. I hope that all helped you out. If you have more questions, don't be afraid. Just reach up and ask. We're very happy to answer any questions. Like I said, all there is short answers or long answers, but there are no dumb or stupid questions as far as I'm concerned. I think that it's important to basically, get a feel for anybody's point of view. Even if I disagree with it, I'd like to hear it. It may have some insight. You'd be surprised how many times people say things that other people would think, oh, that's dumb. And I'll look at it and go, well, it's not the smartest question, but you know what? It has some merit to it. It has some value to it. And so to me, there is no dumb question or stupid question. There are only questions. And so, I listen to a question, and sometimes some people can say 3/4 of it doesn't make any sense to me, but 1/4 of it does. And that 1/4 makes me think, like, oh, that's not an odd idea. That's a pretty good idea. And then, then I start to analyze it. So I'm a real big fan of that. So I hope I've answered all of your questions there. All right, let's see, what do? We got down to Turkish lira, we go to the Canadian, and trust me, I can stop and we can look at products all webinar. So don't be afraid to just jump in and say, hey, I'd like to see, just like the way Alan asked about the Aussie. We don't do the Aussie unless someone asks for it, usually. Let's see, is your system or custom indicator available for purchase or subscription? It is. And you will have to talk to Robin about that. I try not to get too deeply involved in. Let me put it up there. I'll show you where you can go, and you can ask him about it. I try not to get that deeply involved in, selling the system on any level. I just kind of, I show it, I talk about it, and if you want to subscribe or look at it or test it, you go to Robin and the website. It works out better that way. Right here I have a system set up on Dukascopy, the Dukascopy chart there, and it shows you how to follow it. It's a lag, it's not as accurate. If you don't want to spend any money, that's fine. But you can always go to this website here and talk to, where's it at? It's around here somewhere. You would think like I'd have it like, right at my fingertips or something like that. But like I said, I don't try to push it. I just, I show it to you. Yep. No, I don't want it that big. I'm going to shrink it down. And you can see the website right there. And you can see the name of it, Chicago Quant Technologies. And we have a wonderful thing that's written on there. Quant trading for everyone, beginner through advanced. And I think that's the best way to describe it. So, yeah, let's take a look at gold. Rob, we're writing something again on silver like we did on Tuesday. Let's go over there. Usually we take a look at energies from Canadian. I don't think we even looked at Canadian. We'll go back to that later. Let's look at gold. You asked for it, you get it. Look at this. Look at gold this morning. Gold is showing some signs of a little weakness here. You can see that the daily has dropped. The weekly is flirting with its weekly top part of the positive time manifold. So that's not the worst thing in the world. It's been in a daily buy. What's the fact check spreadsheet say? 19 days now it's been in a daily buy, and 7 weeks in a weekly buy. I mean, it's been a winner chicken dinner more than you could ever ask for. The first buy was okay right there. You got a where was the sell? That's not the sell because it's got a green dot in it. Did we ever get a sell? Not there. We got the volatility signal. It did that bounce down. I guess the sell's right there. That's what it is. The sell's there. Not sure what's up with these lines, and then the buy went back into it here. So you went into a buy. Where the hell did you go in a buy? So you went into the buy way back here. There it is. You went into the buy here. Went into the weekly buy here. So at the 1700 and a half area, 1780s area. And it was okay, you made some money out of it. Then it gave some sloppiness here, and there's a sell right there. Okay, so let's just move it over. So the sell was right there. No, that's not it. Where's the sell at in there? Oh, maybe it's over more. So I guess we got into a sell there. Yeah, I guess that's what. No, because that's up. Remember, we're using a super on this. And so that's not a sell either. So that sell gets removed. So we went into the daily buy back here, and it carried you all the way up into this area here. And then I guess that's where the sell is. Move this over to here. And we'll make that red. So then, what happened there? So we're in this buy here in the, what is that? That's the 1780s area. The daily was in a buy for 2 weeks beforehand. This thing's been very consistent. I've been saying that to Robin. Gold has been doing great compared to all the other metals. And then you can see it goes into a sell and goes back into the buy right there. And, it's another mad run all the way up until right here today. And it's flirting with the daily sell as we speak. And that's the wrong spot for it to be in. Oh, I see what's going on. So we move this over like that. There we go. So yeah, it's been very good, very interesting, Whereas the metals complex overall, look at silver. I mean, silver's in a weekly sell from here. Sloppy as all get out. Gets into a buy here, But it's in a sell. You can't really take it unless you're doing the options. It explodes up. I mean, makes a new high. And then now starts to roll over again at the close of that day. And then here we are, another shoe dropping 2 days later. It tried to get into the daily, the weekly buy at the beginning of the week. We wrote about it. Last night it was even flirting with it again. And then sure enough, it's, rolled over. So it's been in a weekly sell since here. And, it's the numbers have helped you. It was a great... where is that? Let's move that over for a second. So, okay, so here we go. So it goes into the daily sell there, and it makes you cover for a loss right there. And then now it's made, it did the buy, so you're not getting trapped into this move up here. Instead, puts you there. Our math always makes your money back and then more. That's why it's 8.5 out of 10. And so it's got a high percentile. So then what you have is, you're short from here, and whatever you gave up here, you've made even more here. So let's see, it has gold and the U.S. Canadian and the AUD decoupled. Hard to say. Let's take a look and ask. Let's take a look together and see. So gold's been really strong. So Canadian normally is very strong against the dollar. In other words, it goes down in value. So let's go there to start off with. That's what we started looking at. And so you can see here, back in April 16th, that was the April 23rd, it confirmed the weekly sell right there, up in the 125-ish area, 124.60-ish area, something like that, 124.75 area. And so you were in a daily sell from here. You caught that whole nice ride down, and then it gave you a buy for a day, and then went right back into a sell and gave you another beautiful ride. Now let's take a look at gold at the same time. Right there. So went into the buy there on, basically the same time, didn't it? April 16th, 17th, something like that. Yeah, so it went into the buy there. And just like the way Canadian went into a sell. Oh, wrong spot. Same situation. About a week later, actually. Yeah, so a week later, it went into the sell. And so I guess gold led it down. And let's go back to the gold, yeah. So yeah, and then I guess, it's awful hard to say about the Aussie. The Aussie used to, when fundamentals, see, that's the problem. When fundamentals meant something, the Aussie was king, Now the fundamentals are kind of far and in between. There's the Aussie. Let's see, April 16th. Right there. So it goes into the weekly buy, but it's it's a real sloppy action. It goes into a daily buy here. Whoop. There's the daily buy. So at April 6th, it goes into the daily buy, and does that put it in a sell there? Yeah. See, that puts it in a sell, and it goes right back into a daily buy again, right? After a couple days, and then. Right there, goes into the daily buy there, and then goes into a sell here. Real choppy. The Aussie's not as smooth as it has been. It was a much smoother product over the last couple of years too. It was a real good product there, and then it goes into the buy here, and it's just couple of days of torture before you make any money. Also, it's lined up with the weekly, which is nice. Then it gives you a warning right there not to be long right before it falls off the cliff. Right, so it goes into the sell on the close of that day, and then the next day they smash it, and then your buy is right here. You see what we're running there. That's not it. Let's see. Let me see. I'm looking at the dots. Oop. Step. Okay. Let's see. So this. I'm trying to analyze this. Let's see. And then indicator. Okay. So we do this. Move that down. Oh yeah. Okay. That's what it is. It's set wrong. Move that out of the way. Change that. Okay, there we are. That'll change the dots and make them more functional. So then, not in that case, there did it. And then that's the sell. And then where's the buy? The buy is right day back like that. So the buy is right there with the buy. So you catch that. That makes it. And then you wouldn't take a short here. You just, you made your money off of this move there. The dots were set on the wrong system. And then there's your sell here. or the opening of this one, basically. Is that right? No. Let's move that over. Right there. The opening of this one up in here, you know, it breaks the low in here. You can be short, not short, out, profit taking. Sorry. And then let's see where we at. Then the buy goes back into here. I find that I'm not sure. Could it be the China situation going on with this product? You know, and here it's a good win again. You know, you get that nice ride out of it there. But it is very choppy. Matter of fact, if you go back and we look at it, there was a lot more continuity and consistency. You know, and you can see the distance between the lines. Oh, not that one. Let's see if we go like that. Right there is your sell, and then there's your buy. So that's a nice ride, and that's a sell there. And you're in a weekly buy to begin with, so you're not taking the short. You're only taking the, oh, that's funny, that color. There you are. I would say that it's not that they've broken away. It seems like something's choppy in here. You know, look at that choppiness. Matter of fact, doesn't that look like a head and shoulders top? So it's really kind of saying something like it's falling apart, you know. Kiwi, all right, let's go there. NZD dollar. So yeah, that's look how choppy this is. This is really having choppy problems. And then you can't take the buy here, but you can take the sell here today coming in, right there. So that's the you know, this one was a nice little sell and win, and it looks like it's setting up perfectly for there. Now let's jump over to the Kiwi against the dollar right there. This is usually pretty. This is pretty smooth, you know, the Kiwi dollar. You know, so it's been in a weekly buy for, that's line 20. What is that? Line 20. Where are you? Now let's see. Oh, I guess we're in a weekly sell. Yeah. What's going on here? Oh, there it is. Yeah, we're in a weekly buy right there. Okay, so we go like this. You can see it's 6 weeks in a weekly buy, but it's in a daily sell for a couple of days. So let's tighten this up so you can see that. And I hope I'm answering everybody's questions here too. So I'm not really sure if you would call it a decoupling to the Canadian, but I would definitely say it's something's wrong with it in the one of the classic fundamental currencies that usually was a representation of the metals. Now we watch the South African rand against the dollar instead of the Canadian, not the Canadian, instead of the not against the dollar, against the gold. We look at the South African rand against the gold, and we, you know, I mean the dollar, South African rand versus gold, and then also we look at Canadian against oil. That's what we usually look at, Canadian and oil. And then, and I know that at times people used gold too. Now you can see here, we went into the sell there, and we are in a weekly buy, so you can't take the short, but you can take the take the profits from this buy signal right here. So put you in a daily buy there. Let me just double check this too. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So yeah, this is good. And let's see. Went into the weekly buy. Was it here? No, right there. That was the weekly buy right there. So let's put that in there. So that's 3. That's 6. We're going on a 7th, but look how close it is to heading into the weekly sell. We got one more day. If they put some pressure on this a little bit more, it could tip it right over. So, and then the daily buy was right there. So, oh no, what did I do there? Oh, there we are. And there is the daily buy right there after one day of a sell. Right there. And this is usually a warm-up. This usually tells you there's some decent moves. When you end up in a daily buy, and you get a great move out of it, but you're flirting only with the weekly buy, and then it gets into the weekly buy, and then the next daily buy also is a good win, and then what you have is you have another one here. That's another good win, right there. And then we don't take the sells on when the weekly's in the buy, so we just if anything you just take profits on it. And even then, right there, it goes into a daily buy and it has a win again. And then next 2 days later, it starts to break down again, and then you get it again here. So this is a pretty good move. It's like this move right here, and so you can't even see. Let me make that clear. I'm sorry. Someone should have said that. So Doc, the chart's blocking things. There it is. Playing with our currency, yeah. Right, exactly. I think they're foolish because there's a great alliance between India, Australia, Japan, and the United States, and I think China is a big paper tiger. I really do. I just don't. Let's put it this way: can you imagine them going to war with everybody? I mean, there would be insurrection inside the country in a matter of hours and days. I think China would go nuts. I mean, the people would go nuts. They'd be like, what is this shit? I'm not sure I'm supposed to say that on YouTube, but they'd be saying, what is this junk? We want food and we want to live normal lives. We don't care what you crazy communists are doing. Just leave us alone. And so, this is interesting to see this action going on here, especially with the weekly starting to really show some potential to go into a weekly sell if they knock it down anymore. And I agree with you. I wasn't going to bring that up, the geopolitical situation. I'm stuck in Australia. What do you mean you're stuck in Australia? Were you a criminal in another country and they sent you there? I don't know. I find Australia very fascinating. The Sydney Exchange used to send me invites they offered me up to 3 free exchange seats at one point to come join the place. They said, just come, send traders down here and we'll give you 3 free seats. Were you shipped off to Australia? Oh my God. So, I think this was the conversation yesterday about weeklies and dailies. So when you say you're stuck, they closed our borders. What for COVID? I mean, how many times do we see that rubbish going on around here? It's crazy stuff, They drive us crazy with that. The blue states are, paranoid. It's the flu. It's a nasty flu, but it's the flu. Let's see. So you can't get out of your community. Our government is not unlike Biden. Yeah, I can imagine. I know you guys have the names all screwed up, right? The liberals are the conservatives, and the Labor, I guess, or whatever the other party is the Labor socialists, right? So I mean, your liberal party is the conservatives. How did that happen? How did they make things change named? I find that very strange. Anyway, what else do we have to say around here? Anybody else? I know, it's crazy. I don't know what else to say about it. I say, go on the lam. Go walkabout. Go walkabout. Take your rifle, take some cash, go walkabout. Now, it's the state or the country? Aren't some states wide open still? You got what, 5 or 6 states? Queensland and I don't know, Tasmania, that's an island too. And then what do you got? I watched a couple. I've watched 2 or 3 TV shows of I loved Rake. Rake was great. Tyler Green, or whatever his name, Green, you know. And then I watched the Navy one, the Border Patrol. That was really good too. Anyway, traders, I guess we're done for the day. Our title has been taken care of. I've done it. I filled it in. It's Understanding Weekly Signals. There we are. All right. This is Doc from North America. We will catch you on tomorrow, which is TGIF. And we're open to all questions and have more fun. And for you, I say go walkabout. All right, happy trails to you until we meet again, which will be tomorrow, TGIF. Happy trails to you, to all our cyber trading friends. Aloha, traders, aloha.